Hello, my name is Leah Katung Babatunde, and of course, this is Top Talk. I'm speaking this edition with Dr. Mrs. Ibukun Odusote. She is an experienced information technology icon with passion for environmental management with emphasis on plastic use and waste management. She's a former permanent secretary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where she spent about a decade, if I'm correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nice to have you join me for this conversation, Doctor.
Nice to be here too. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you. So how has life been outside the public service?
Oh, I would say yes, exciting, interesting. You're more relaxed because you're not under pressure every day. You have to be here, you have to be there. So it's been a good time. But for someone like me that is always on the go, I'm still quite busy.
You were a federal permanent secretary for a whole decade. We've established that feat. But why have you over time focused on the youth? Why did you choose the young people to focus on?
I think from the beginning of my life, I've always loved working with young people. Even when I was in my teens, I had groups of younger ones that I was leading. So it had always been a pattern of life. And then as years went by, I observed that people that I encountered when they were young, when they grow and they become matured, they have a lot of value to the environment and a lot of value to me. I see them being of great help in many things that I want to do, my visions, the various kinds of things that I love to do. They are more active, so they have greater ideas. You just don't want to look down on any young person because they are just full of ideas, particularly Nigerians. They are smart and full of ideas. All that they require is that to give them support, an enabling environment for them to perform. So I took interest in that. And along that line also, I had leaders like my ministers, in some cases, my pastors, who themselves are also youth-oriented. So they love the youth and they love what we do. So they give me all the support that I require, and I've found it quite interesting.
Okay, we have a large number of Nigerian young persons, young adults, who are out of school.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel really bad about that. I feel upset about that. And I wish I could do everything that is within me. In recent times, we just created a Pulse Learning Hub, and in that hub, all that we are trying to do is to train young people, people that are out of school, people that are out of jobs, people that are even in school, but they're not skilled. They are educated, but they're not skilled. So we want to have them do photography, do videography, do different kinds of things, especially things that information technology can enable them so to do. So it's painful when you see them. A number of them want to be on some of these programs. They don't even have what it takes to be there. Ordinary transportation from one location to the other is a major problem for some of them. And we just wish that people out there would support young people to be in real programs, not programs that are just mouthed, and you say, yes, we are training 1,000 youths, they are doing this, and we can't see what they're doing. But you want people that will be on the computers. We do coding, we do different kinds of things to enable them to be able to work in various environments, doing different kinds of things. It's one of the things that led us to plastics and waste management. What can IT do for you in waste management? You need to come and see the kind of ideas that were generated.
I was actually going to ask you this question about the relationship between ICT and the environment.
Yeah, there's so much about the environment. We are all aware, and we are in the middle of it, climate change. So we know that things are not the way they were some 10, 20, 30 years ago. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be having rains in November in this part of the world. But we are having, and we're having floods in Borno State and different kinds of places. So what will information technology do for us? Number one, there's a lot about predictions, data analysis that will tell us what to expect in this and this environment at some specific times. The last program that we held, which we're still looking forward to, a second part of it. We have young people who have built some apps that will enable you to know where do you have plastics in large numbers, so that people that collect the plastics can know where to go. And even in your estate, we had some examples of some estates that within that estate, people know where to locate their used plastics. And the interesting part of it is that the children are encouraged to pick all those plastics that are in their own homes or nearby, and they are selling it. It's not for free. So they gather all the plastics because the plastics are a menace to the environment. It causes flooding. It causes all kinds of things that is of it hazards to our health. So they pick the plastics and then they have where to take it to. So if they look on their systems, if they employ any of the apps that we developed, they'll be able to know this is where to take it to, and this is how much you get for it. You know the quantity you're bringing, you send your account details, and it is just transferred to your account, or it transferred to your school account.
How readily available is this information? Because it's breaking news to me.
Yeah, that's part of the issues that we have, and thank God for the KAFTAN television that has brought us here. To put it out there is quite expensive. So we are trying to do what we can do within the means that we have. We haven't scratched the surface, and we really would want to, and have people that would come into us and come as support and give all the backing that is required, because what we want is that Nigerian youths are not just on the roads. We have people they call Bababola that just carry bags. We want them to be more organized in what they're doing, so that it won't be as it was for my mom. My mom was buying bottles from scavengers and stuff like that. We called her a poor trader. Meanwhile, what she was doing is remarkable. It's something that she should get an award for if we're looking at it today, because what she was doing was recycling. She was recycling. She buys the bottles, they wash the bottles, and then she sells them out to organizations that use them again. They clean them again and use them and use and use. And that's what we are saying about plastics, that we don't want plastics that we just throw off and they are blocking our waterways, but you want plastics that can be used over and over again. If you are using them over and over again, is of value. But we even want to reduce to the barest minimum so that we don't have such plastics, such waste in our drainages and the various places. So we are talking about IT. The children, the young people, they also try to calculate what would a bale of plastics, how many plastics, how many bottles will make this bale, so that when it's compressed, they know the quantity that they must have to have it compressed. So many interesting
That's mathematics already.
Yes, yes. And so many other things that these young people brought to bear on that project.
How many cities are you in?
For now, we are just here, FCT. For now, we are proposing and requesting that we'll be able to go out of FCT. We pushed up to Nasarawa State, but the reason of the limit of our budget, we couldn't go beyond FCT. But in the second phase of the project, actually the project is a small grants project of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. So what we had is was quite limited to FCT. We are proposing that we'll be able to do more states. And if we are doing that, many more young people will be involved. This last one, about 200 people were involved. But I can tell you, a lot of our youths are also not interested in getting to know what they can do to make progress. What they want is money now. Money now. And that's not the principle of growth. That's not the principle even of prosperity. For you to be able to get to where you want, we want to make sure that there's a change in their mindset. That is not just wake up and you have the money. Those of them that remained on that project, that are pushing on, they are working extremely hard. But it's obvious the results are coming.
Okay, the results are coming, and you talked about predictions and data analysis.
Yes.
When we're talking ICT. And then one will begin to wonder that in some countries, before you leave your house in the morning, you would want to watch the TV or listen to the radio and know what the weather is like,
Yes.
what to put on.
Yeah.
And we've seen NAMED, for instance, do so much in recent time, telling us, for instance, this week we're having 3 days in places like Abuja of signs of Harmattan, but of course being accompanied by so much sunshine. We had that prediction, but it will seem like it is not helping in the planning of everyday life for citizens and for organizations. Where is the missing link?
The missing link is information, getting it out there, that people will be able to know, they will get to understand that they must check before they go. You know, in the past, if you were going to visit a friend, you just go. You just dress up and you go to their houses. But after a while, you will discover that people will take a phone and call and find out, are you there? Before they start going, because of the experiences that they've had. So we have a responsibility to push it out there, that people need to check what will the weather be tomorrow. We were going to plan a program, a big program, and it was going to be an outdoor program. So on getting into the system, I was chairing the team. I asked them, in fixing the date, did you check the weather for that time? The day of that program was just going to be a day of heavy storm. We had to totally change the date. If we didn't do that, you know, we also have this other part of it. We start praying, it will not rain, we see the cloud, we move it, you know, unless it is absolutely necessary. You don't want to waste your time doing all that. If it is necessary, even God knows that you need to have good weather on such a day. But when it is not necessary, you can plan better, and then you can plan with weather. I can tell you, even at top levels, people still don't understand the fact that they need to go with the forecast. They need to go with the weather. They need to go with prescriptions and descriptions of things, the way to go. In Lagos now, I don't know about Abuja. I haven't heard of any radio that does traffic movement. But in Lagos, at a time, it became very essential to have a traffic station that was monitoring traffic, that would tell you that if you go on Eco Bridge, this is how long it will take if you do this, if you do that. Nowadays also, you have the Google Map. People are using Google Map in Abuja so very well. Though sometimes Google Map can take you to somewhere else that's not where you're going. I think it's because of the way our systems are. Otherwise, there's no reason for it. But there are so many things that should guide us, especially in terms of weather, in terms of our movement, and it reduces our costs when we are so well planned.
I remember a couple of years back, there used to be a Twitter handle in Lagos that would tell you, this is the traffic situation here, that is a traffic situation there. But then, and I'm also glad that you've had so much experience with the Ecological Fund Office as well as the Ministry of Environment. So my next set of questions will be hinged on that. The fact that over time we've really seen the federal government do so much through the Ecological Funds Office, but as you've said, we see floods in Borno and some other states, and these things happen perennially. And the signs are always there. We've seen erosions in some states happen perennially, continuously, even as we speak. We've seen the deserts encroach into states. I mean, these things are obvious, but it will look like we're just dumping into the ocean. The results are not visible. Is that it?
Well, many things are responsible for that. Nigeria, in its peculiar situation, can be taken as being responsible in some areas, because sometimes people are warned, people are given good information about locating, let's say, structures. But by reason of corruption, by reason of relationships, you could have someone build a house right on the waterway. And when that house is being built from foundation, it's like every other person in government ignores until when it has been built and you have a whole house standing. And then people now start coming, marking the building, doing all kinds of things, which should have been done right from the beginning. So you now have government having a responsibility to try to straighten out. That's why when you have some leaders that are courageous, that are bold, they would pull down buildings, do different kinds of things to ensure that a master plan is in place. And sometimes, while that is happening, they're also doing some other funny things because they have some scores to settle with some other people. Political issues, all kinds of things. But if we are to follow the signs that are there and the requirements for a very clean environment, apart from the act of God, which you wouldn't be able to plan for. It happens as God so desires it. But otherwise, government would need to spend less if we learn to follow instructions. The other day, in front of a house that I'm quite related with, we were just going on the road, government road, and young people, some people, not young people, had they were digging, wanting to pass one wire from one side of the road to the other side of the road. It wasn't supposed to be our business, but we came out of the car. I said, no, you can't do this. They said they can. We said, no, you cannot. This is federal government road. You can't do this. And when you have all such things happening, violations of rules, people just do what they like. This is a country of impunity. People do what they like and they get away with it. But whatever government is also doing, most of the time, is not in the public space. You don't really get to know what government is doing. I don't know how we can do it. I know that while I was in some of the ministries, there was a lot of emphasis on pushing out the information. I was in the Ministry of Agriculture when we had Dr. Akinwumi Adesina as the Honorable Minister, we pushed out a lot of things. Just making sure that people know. You need to know. He comes into the meeting and he says, please, they need to know that we are doing this. They need to know. They need to know. The government needs to spend a lot more on making people know. In the days and in the age that we're in, what is required is a lot more in social media. Well, you also have to be careful because in the social media you could have it for good and you could have it for evil, because people can be funny, can do different kinds of things. But when it is authentic information coming from the government, you will know. You will know, because you wouldn't have organizations that are well established. You can't have KAFTAN television coming up with fake news. Before you push anything out, you want to test it, you want to be sure that is the right thing. And there are other organizations like that. Many other television stations that would not come and say what they don't know. They wouldn't come with that. So government should push information into all those places and then invest in young people, invest in organizations like ours that are gathering young people and pushing them all over the country. Every year we run a program for young people. We call it DigiTest. And DigiTest has been all over Nigeria. We can say that at least about 7,000 to 8,000 children have been on DigiTest at different times. So even if we are working with our 8,000 children, and these 8,000 children are meeting 100, 200 children on a daily basis. They are mates, they are in their schools and various places where they are. You can imagine the large number of people that we are reaching out to. But organizations like that need to be helped to be able to move and walk along the lines that they walk. We're not talking about profits in terms of money and stuff like that. We're interested in the development of young people and the development of Nigeria. And that's the way we can at least minimize all these disasters that we have that are preventable.
I want to just step back a bit, and I remember vividly in primary school, when I was in primary school, now that we were taught how to not only plant beans and maize and rice, we were taught how to plant trees. And we were told why to plant trees. And growing up, there was no house that didn't have trees. You're going to have fruits and have other things. But we don't get to see those things right now anymore. We don't get to see them. And this is just one part of the question, but I'm told we need to go on break, so I'll hold on to the next part of the question because we need to go on break right now, and we'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. Earlier, before we took the break, I was asking Dr. Ibukun a question, which I'm going to continue from where we stopped, and that will be the second leg of the question, which is going back to primary school days and now. That apart from learning how to plant trees, we knew why we needed to plant trees, to break the wind, and of course to prevent erosion. It was basic, not school assembly kind of knowledge that you get back then. You also get to learn from excursions, real life experiences, and these things have gone extinct to a large extent in the school curriculum. What does this portend for the kind of young persons we're raising?
It's sad that a number of things of this nature are out of the curriculum, but I don't think they're totally out, because as PAMSEC in environment, or when I was in Agric, we had days of tree planting. In secondary schools here in the FCT, and we see that the children are involved in planting. I know some schools here in Abuja that everything that they eat in their boarding school is produced in the school there. Not everything, most things. All their protein, they get all their protein from their farm. They have fish farm, they have animal farms, they have all kinds of things, chicken, goats, they are rearing all that. So some schools are still into it, but as a general thing, as a national orientation, I think we are far from where we used to be. When we were growing up, we didn't know about interlocking tiles in our buildings. When we had any space at all, is to plant ewedu, is to plant okra, and all kinds of things. In my house, even now, I still have little things that are planted in there. I wish it could be more. But like I have one very big orange tree. The orange tree is not tall, but it produces so much. I brought that from somewhere, and it's wonderful when you see the oranges grow, and they grow right around the year. So what I was saying, I don't know at what point that this started getting dropped off from the national curriculum, but I think someone should just tell us that they need to go back to it. Someone like me has a responsibility to have a chat with maybe the head of service or the minister of education, write a document and send to them that look in this direction. And if they are looking in that direction, how can we be a support to them? And I'm putting it out there too, that as many people, especially women, we are trying to push amongst women that we should do urban farming. Do farming in your environment. At least do the basic vegetables that you eat on a daily basis. Do it in the house. And when you are doing that, your children are seeing that done. When my daughter was growing up, and then she had this small fish pond, and then her fish became so big, and then she said nobody would touch it. We said we grew the fish so that we can eat it. She said no, if you eat it, you must pay 1 million naira, this and that. We killed it when she was out to school. When she came back, she almost fell sick. She was crying that that fish was too big for you to let it go. But we really enjoyed the fish. So sometimes she said she was discouraged that she doesn't want to grow any fish again, that they ate her fish. And I know some that they had a goat. They were playing with the goats everywhere. When it was Christmas to kill the goats, the children started crying that no, you can't kill it.
Family pets.
But they killed the goats. So they said they don't want to do goat rearing anymore. But we must encourage our children to go back to the field to make sure that we are reproducing. And then trees. Because I had been in Ministry of Environment all these years, there was no way I could be in any environment that you won't have trees. We plant trees and trees. I was telling someone that we need to bring down this big tree. It's too big. It can fall on the roof and this and that. Come and see so much struggle that we're having. But when we pull out one tree, what the rule is that you must plant 2 or 3 more. So make sure you have planted the 3 before you pull out this one. When this one goes off, these other ones should replace. And any environment that we find ourselves, no matter how small, we make sure that you will have trees and places where people can sit down, take some fresh air. We don't understand so much of fresh air that we take from trees. And the trees are calling for the carbon dioxide that we are throwing out. So making the environment very healthy and clean. So I'm saying it to anybody, to everyone that will be listening to me, let's plant trees. Let it be a habit. On a birthday, plant trees. On your anniversary, wedding anniversary, plant trees. And if you like, plant crop trees. so that it's not just planting trees, it's also yielding to you
Fruits.
something that you can eat, fruits, it can be vegetables, it can be different kinds of things.
Okay, another thing that I find that we have not talked about enough in this country is ESG. So we don't, in fact, know how to dispose our waste properly. You've mentioned that already, of which I am certain that there are funds out there that most of our institutions and organizations are not even tapping into it because we are not applying the necessary rules. And so we tend to put our waste together, for instance. We don't separate them. And when the vehicles come, the garbage trucks come, they just take everything together. What does that do to the environment when we are disposing waste together, everything together?
It's a major, major crisis for us in Nigeria in particular. Well, this interview is bringing back some of the things that I had desired that I would do out of office, because you just need to have a team that will lead the campaign, that people have to separate waste. Even in my home, I know how difficult it is for any new entrance into the home to understand that you don't mix things together. That the domestic waste, you will put that separate, you put recyclable waste together so that it's easy for whoever will now go to manage them. And then our waste management also still has a lot to do, because what they just do is to pack everything, as you have said, into the truck, and we don't even have incinerators, we don't have recycling plants as much as we require. So they just go dump into our dumping space. If we were at Idu dumping ground, oh my God, the dump site. The stench that comes out of there, the human beings that are working there, picking plastics, papers, different kinds of things, very unhealthy environment. Very unhealthy environment that should be a pain to any government, any leadership. We need to have, when I was in ecological funds, we bought a number of modular incinerators that makes it possible for people to process waste within an estate and stuff like that. And they were bought into various places. What happened to them? You can't explain. You just cannot explain.
Maybe they've been vandalized as well.
Vandalized. Maybe they will go and use them for something else. Because if they are even stolen and they are being used somewhere, it's still achieving the purpose. But you just don't see them. And you wonder what exactly is the matter with Nigerians. You just don't see them. Different ideas of things that can be done to manage waste. At the time, we did not succeed in getting people to buy the color-coded recycling containers. But there was a pilot that gave some cities some plastics in that nature, so that at least the government offices can be doing that. Even the Ministry of Environment was a tug of war for me to get that to happen. Even in the Ministry of Environment. So talk less of all other places. It's just that our orientation is so different, and it will take a while. But if a lot more money is put into publicity, information management along these lines, because it has ripple effect. Eventually, it will pay for itself when people get to understand that this is the way to go. In the building that we have a receptacle where people come to dump plastics, just plastics. So, and you can see the difference in that environment, because people have a little bit of understanding that this is the way to go. I just pray that as we are speaking, it will resonate with people that matter that would consider what is being said, and they would pass it on to generations and generations, that in areas where they have control of their own environment.
Okay. Another thing that has happened to our environment is illegal mining. And and for a lot of people, it's the money they make off it immediately. But for others, it has health implications. It has implications for the land. It has a lot of implications if you look at the general picture. So, from your years in that environment, and of course now that you're out of government and you're seeing it through the eyes of other people outside,
a regular human being.
Yes, yes, if I may put it that way. How do we get it right? How do we get it right?
I wasn't totally into mining. I didn't have the opportunity of being in that sector, so to say. But what we just know about this nation is that we really don't love Nigeria. We don't love ourselves, and we don't have understanding of how much we can benefit if we show loyalty to our nation. In Ministry of in ecological funds, when I was there, what I met as a permanent secretary were people, a few people that would only be responsible for all the projects. They will go meet with the contractors, do different kinds of things. You are finding people approving projects that are not completed because they just want to gain something from that setting. When I saw that there were many other people, brilliant civil servants who are professionals, even in some cases, that are in the front office, and they were not utilized at all. So I said, wait a minute, what we're going to do? On every project, we have an admin cost that we're going to be taking. It's official. The money goes into an official account. And that money, what did we use? We use it for buy laptops for all the staff, send them out with internet, because I had been on the trail of internet in Nigeria, internet penetration in Nigeria. So for quite a while, I've been on that project. I've been on that vision. It has been a passion. So what they would do from the field, they had given me pictures, direct. I'm seeing them in my office. So it's not, I did this, I did that. And that revealed a lot of things. It also allowed the people to do a lot more. It made life better, though I suffered for it, which is
I was going to say that.
I suffered for it because it didn't go well with quite a number of people, including people that you would expect that they would be interested in making sure that you get the kind of results that you should get. It didn't go well with them because they were not going to benefit from it. People just wanted to benefit from anything. I wish one can say so much. There are some things you can't put out there just like that. But when the opportunities come, you'll be able to say, yes, these are the kinds of experiences that we had. And it's because a lot of people, even at the top level, don't love Nigeria. If we love Nigeria, there are some things that just won't happen. A number of the mining that you're talking about, they are spearheaded by foreigners. And these foreigners don't just walk into the country. Foreigners are authorized to be in the country. And you see them doing different kinds of things. The parts that I can talk about is when we were in Ministry of Agriculture, carrying out logs of wood, exporting our wood. the very good wood that you had in Nigeria from the forestry, reducing our forest to bare, I don't know what I'll call them, thick forests that had big wood. There were foreigners bringing them out. And of course, some Nigerians were part of it. And they can't be low-level Nigerians. And nobody would tell me that people don't know that people like that exist and nothing happens to them. Instead, they will even take lands from people, the poor people, and then they bear large names. So what am I saying? The peasant miners, the low-level miners, they are just used. They still keep doing little things, selling little things because they just want to survive. How many people even have access to mining except they are living there or they are from the states and the environment? So the real thing, and I thank God for, I think this administration is addressing it, that we are talking about gold in Nigeria. We're talking about some other mineral resources in Nigeria, which have always been there. And Nigeria can actually make a lot of money if we focus on the stones that God has given unto us, the resources that God has given unto us. But we'll just be praying that we'll have leadership that will focus on that will be righteous, that will be true, and where the righteous don't suffer in the hands of people, where people that point people to errors, then don't end up themselves in trouble. That once you are not doing it right, is either you are shifted from it or somebody comes up with something that is not true. Absolutely. And they multiply it and you get a different name from who you are.
Yeah, I'm told we need to go for another break. So of course we're going on a break and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. And I've been speaking with Dr. Ibukun, and we're on the home stretch now. And so we'll be taking our last couple of questions. And perhaps you would want to give me some information. The children you've been working with, the young adults you've been working with, do they have physical projects that we can see? And how would you gauge the progress you've made with them so far?
Well, for Digitest, we have all kinds of projects, but the projects have gone into different places because these are children that are between ages 8 and 18. So when they do whatever they do, they take it up themselves and latter stage of life to go beyond that. We have not done a proper bringing together of the various things that they had done so that we can work on them. But this last project that we had with young people that has to do with plastics, we have them in the city. We have children that are now producing interlocking tiles from plastics in one of the schools that was involved in our project. There are some that are making decorations. We have them, they are here in Abuja, making decorations, tools, chairs, and furniture where you can hang your television and different things in their sitting room from plastics. All the used plastics, cut them into different styles, match them together, and you can comfortably sit on them and see very good furniture. So some of them are available, but we wish it could be more. It could be a lot more. They are frustrated by the various things that are happening, electricity bills. They are frustrated by transportation, accommodation for their projects, and it's really a pain for all such people. If there are agencies, international organizations that could come in to assist such people, we have them to present. And the projects are there. And these are projects that will bring them money so that they can be empowered to do more and also to take on some younger people along with them again, and even older people, get them employed and get them economically strong to be able to feed back into the system, and so that everybody can be comfortable. We have projects.
So if more organizations look inwards to say, okay, we're doing CSR
Yes.
on these kinds of projects, will that help?
It would help tremendously, tremendously. People can adopt just one. Just take one of the projects. Let's take one. You take one. Then somebody else takes one. By the time we have taken like 10 projects, I believe that Abuja in particular will not be the same. It will be so visible. The things that they are doing, they are practical. They are practical. One is that when you want to have plastics for some of these projects that I'm talking about, they use tires also. They use used tires, condemned tires. So to move them is a problem. Because just 1 kg of plastic can be like that. Just 1 kg. So to move plastics that you can have in tons, then it means that you need transportation. You need a means of moving them. So they have to buy vehicles, they have to fuel the vehicles and move them to locations where they have their equipment. Then they need electricity, they have to have generators if light is not going to be as required, as available as they will require. So all those supports will support the knowledge that they have, the experience that they have, and the ideas that they have. Then they will be able to move on. I know that it's not all the youths that are responsible. It's not all the youths that really want to achieve something. They're just looking for money or food. Or some are into all kinds of...
Some will tell you, I haven't eaten, you're telling me to.
No, we had that. Out of the 200 people that we had on our project, at the end of the project, maybe we got like 20 projects. We were supposed to have like 40 projects. And the 20, out of the 20, maybe about 8 were real good projects. When they come, what they want is, when are we having lunch? When are we having breakfast? Well, what is our takeaway? Where is our trans? That's the way they call it, transportation. We have to give them transportation allowance. Otherwise, they won't even come. They'll tell you they can't come. And when they come, some are just out there, they are smoking. You have to make sure you pull them out. You have to, different kinds of things. But there are serious-minded youths in Nigeria. And there's no gainsaying about that. They are there and they are committed. If those ones are encouraged, and we know them, and we know some of them, we may not know all of them, but we know some of them. If they're encouraged, we will see the difference, practically.
Okay. You talked about the Ministry of Environment and that you have the separation of waste there for plastic, and yes, I've seen in a number of places in Abuja where there will always be those marked plastic containers for disposal, but there are not so many again. Like when the campaign started. Are you thinking towards renewing that campaign or bringing it back?
I think from here, it's an idea that I'm going to carry out again and see what can be done. Actually, what happened at a point is that people stole all the plastics. So they will say, why should somebody have 3 when we don't even have one? They just carry. But these are color-coded. One is green, one is blue, one is yellow or something. So they are supposed to be for different wastes. But somebody will just come and carry the yellow one. Say that I need the yellow one. It matches my house. They'll just steal it. So at a time we had to be tying the dustbins to different kinds of things and almost like welding them to the floor. And that made it pretty difficult again to empty when the waste pickers would come. So I still want to go into that, but maybe you can do that in estates, well-established environments, not in open spaces. In open spaces, they will still steal them. They will just take them away. Some, they will just take them, then paint out all your markings on them, and then sell them again.
So perhaps do some more awareness on separation.
Maybe we'll be working with Abuja Environmental Protection Agency so that we can see how that can happen. Government can do all this if they work with the private sector. Government as government may not be able to achieve it, at least that's my experience. But what government with private sector can get a lot done.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Doctor, for making our time for this conversation, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the much we can take on this episode of Top Talk. Until we come your way again, same time next week, I remain Leah Katung Babatunde, telling you to enjoy the rest of your day, and of course, God bless Nigeria.